Hey, it's Jason, and we're going to be practicing through volume 4 of incredibly useful exercises for double bass. So I'll get this camera on, and this is my 4th week doing these. So this is 4 weeks of replacing my typical technique routine with the Dennis Whitaker's exercises. There are 16 volumes in total, so you can find the other ones I've done so far on my YouTube channel. But we're going through here, similar to before. We're gonna call up volume 4 here on the iPad Pro, and I'm using the Kindle app, which would probably not be how I would start this one. I would probably prefer to do it on paper, but just in terms of not filling my life with too much paper, I'm doing this here, and so that I can zoom in, which I'll try to do a better job of on this video. But so volume 4 is Lower Octave Mastery, Part 1. And I will probably not go as long on this one as I have with some of the other videos, because it seems to be taking me about 45 minutes. I think I have a timer set here. Oops, that's for part 2, which I was building for next week. Part 1 is right here. This app, by the way, is called Modacity. It totally rocks, and if I remember, I'll link to it in the description, in the card up here, or the description below, or something like that. But it's very cool. So, Lower Octave Mastery Part 1, and again, with this app, if you haven't seen these videos before, I have set timers for each of these elements of this technique routine. And so, you go through, it has you write affirmations, which I'm not doing for these, although I think it's a great idea to write, and I am doing that in other ways. Always starting and ending with silence, which is super cool. So that's a technique that I never really did until using these, but it's actually a really great way to just sort of cleanse the palate, I guess you might say, and just start your practice session off right. Centering, then we're gonna do trampolines / basketball, tonalization, glowing tones, big wiggle, 1-finger vibrato, tetrachord warm-ups, 3-note progressive scales, ribbits, and then we end again with silence. I've done some of these exercises a few times, so I'll try to change up my shtick here, my routine as I'm talking to you, but we will start with silence. I always give myself a little bit of time here on Modacity to, I write tune, rosin, get set. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what I do. I also generally don't put rosin on at the beginning, but it's a little colder here today in San Francisco. Oh, by the way, this is Leatherwood Bespoke base rosin. This is the 40% hydration rosin. I generally use the 50%, but when it's summer months, like it is right now, San Francisco is pretty temperate, but it tends to get a little bit sticky. So I went down to the 40% for summer, but it's a little cooler today. So I tune using Tonal Energy, which is an app that I've used for years and I really enjoy. We'll just check. If it's in the green, I'm good to go. And for whatever reason, I get some pitch creep on these low strings. That's a little low. And it's a little sharp. This low B extension can be a little bit fussy, so. Made by a great luthier in Iowa City, Chris Threlkeld-Weigand. Makes great basses and used to make custom guitars, so it's really cool wood that he uses on these things. All his extensions look a little different. And that's pretty good. Good. Oh, that bell might be an A flat. Okay, so how did my tuning go? Fine. Now we do some silence. And I'm just sort of connecting with my center as I do this. Normally I'm not talking during the silence. And if you hear sounds, I am both doing the dishes and laundry, which is typically not what I try to do when I'm filming a video, but that's what we're doing today. All right, and I would not normally be talking during the silence, and 30 seconds seems to be a good amount for me for these. So, centering, we're going through and we are just checking in with various body parts. And Dennis did this over a G major scale, but you could do anything or not even play. But what I generally do is exactly what he has here. So I start with feet. I'm just kind of connecting, almost feeling like the warmth of that body part and then going up to hips. And then for breathe, I just focus on my breath. I don't do anything special. I just breathe like I normally do. Then we go up to lower back. We'll continue going. Shoulder blades, so I'm connecting with both shoulder blades. Just kind of aware of them. That's about it. And then keep on going. Obviously, I don't stop when I'm doing this myself. Breathe. And then we do neck. Face. Go on. Take a breath. Feel that on the B. And then here we're on a right shoulder. And then at this point, yeah, right elbow. So we're just going up and down the arms. And then I believe, go back here. Yep, right wrist. So you feel right wrist and right finger. So just checking in with all these body parts. Take a breath. Or just notice your breath, rather. Left shoulder, and then we do the same exact thing. I'll zoom out now. Same exact thing. So we're on left shoulder for the G. Check in with left elbow, left wrist, left fingers. Bring your attention to your breath. Check in with your whole body, just your arms. And as I check in and breathe, good timing. I would definitely just play through that and not talk through it normally. But as I check in with every body part, I'm just trying to release any tension I'm holding. I sometimes think about being on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of levels of activation or tension. So if I'm feeling like I went for a run this morning, I'm feeling pretty good. Maybe if I hadn't gone for the run or I hadn't slept as much, I might be holding some tension, or I was carrying groceries home or something. So I might just want to connect with that body part, my upper back, my lower back, my arms, and just kind of see where I'm at in terms of fatigue, in terms of anything that I'm holding, and just try. So maybe I'm holding at a 6. Well, can I just reduce that activation level to a 5 or even a 4? And that's kind of what I'm doing in these centering exercises. Okay, yes, that was fine. Modassi has you rate. Now, trampolines, basketball. I love this. I've done this many times. So again, just a quick review on this. At any speed, you can pick the speed. You're just out here, letting the bow dribble. And I don't think I've shown you this trick yet. Technique is a better word. But what I'm doing, I picked this up from my friend Andy Anderson in the Lyric Opera of Chicago. He teaches at Roosevelt University in Chicago also. I am just activating. I'm only using my first finger and thumb, and I'm exerting equal force with first finger and with thumb, and I'm just riding the wave of this bounce. And I would definitely suggest doing this over carpet or a cheap bow when you're starting off, because you can drop the bow. But what happens with a lot of people, and a great way to build up to that is to start just like normal. And there's probably a German bow equivalent, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to think about that. I like having people start with all fingers on the bow just like normal, then take the pinky off, take the third finger off, and this is still usually fairly easy for folks, doing 1, 2, and thumb, just removing pinky and third finger. But then, if you can also take the second finger off, you'll find that you're activating this part of the hand, oftentimes in a way that you're not used to doing when you're bowing, and it's actually a very useful feeling. It can be very not obvious what's going on in here from the outside perspective, from somebody watching. So this can be a hard thing to demonstrate in lessons, but I find that if someone develops the ability to just keep this bounce going with thumb and one, and as I'm talking, I'm losing it, so I gotta get it going again. That unlocks a lot of doors for various bow strokes. I don't really do that anywhere else in the bow except out here, but it's pretty useful. So again, for trampolines and basketball, we are trampolining right now. And then as I start to move in a bit, you can see I'm starting to use my arm in a little bit more of a basketball dribbly way. And I love the rhythm that this creates where it's like randomly slapping against the fingerboard. And I like to just keep doing this for a couple minutes. And as I'm doing that, again, with those levels of activation, I'm just trying to see how relaxed and free I can feel in this arm. I actually find this to be very relaxing. And that's probably why Dennis put this early on in many of these volumes, is when I actually manage to release, I can actually feel it all the way down my back. This is actually sort of, it's almost like getting a massage or something. It's kind of strange, but then you can go back out here. And yesterday, as I was practicing this, I was going to all the other strings, although I do think it's good to start on the D string. We'll get some pretty wacky slaps here, probably. Don't worry too much about how it sounds. This is my control exercise and a mindfulness exercise, primarily. And then I find that actually going over the G string is the trickiest. For me, at least. Go into that basketball motion. Maybe I'll go over to the E string for a little bit. Go back out. And that's the beautiful thing about this exercise, or any of these exercises, or really any exercise, is that you want to be able to go deep. You know, it's a simple exercise, but there's so many layers, and I did this one differently than I did yesterday, and every time I've approached these exercises, this trampolines basketball, I've done it slightly differently. Just trying to build on what I've done in the previous practice session and just kind of go to the next level, which is what I'm trying to do with a lot of things in my life. That was pretty good. We'll do 4.5. Mark Gelfo, the creator of this app, he has you rate everything you do. I'm generally too easy on myself, but oh well, I'll solve that problem later. Tonalization. So, by the way, I should take off my practice mute. I've said this in other videos, but I got in the habit of practicing with the practice mute, and I don't know. That's what I do. Okay, so this one, we start off with the pizzicato. And you've seen me do this many times, so I'll kind of move through this. And if you haven't seen it, just go back to the other videos. These are all early on. But we're activating the string like a bow and arrow and just letting the string naturally vibrate. And I am looking, Dennis calls it making the string go fat, but you see when you pluck, you can see those wide vibrations. And then what he does next is pits once, and now try to get the same thing with the bow, which I did not like that note. I kind of whiffed it. I went like, I didn't really. And the reason why I whiffed it, well, there are many reasons, but one is that I wasn't really letting my arm weight sink in. So again, I go back to the pits. Now, sink, set, activate the string, and try to get the same general arm motion, only with the bow. And then Dennis has you do the same thing on the D string, or you can really do it on any string, then just doing it with the bow. But that same kind of pizzicato-like motion. So we activate the string. Yeah. I really like doing these early in the session. It's like what David Allen Moore calls musical hygiene. Just thinking about how I really want to get the string going. Activating the string. And then all he does with the rest of the exercise is lengthen the stroke. So now we do a half note, which I'm trying to do approximately half the bow. But I'm not trying to be insanely exact. Just I'm thinking about catching and then riding that spinning string. So catch, release, and make the string go fat. Catch. You see I got it? And then I just ride the wave. And then we continue. We do dotted half notes next. So there are those. So we're just thinking 3 counts. Approximately 3/4 of the bow. And I suppose you could practice these up bow, but I find that for these just sort of remembering how things work and just activating things the right way. I do like starting down bow. So then we do whole notes. So we're just going to play a series of whole notes. Just making sure I'm letting that string be nice and wide. I'm riding the wave of the vibrating string. And then he closes it off by going back to the pits, which I love. I love the symmetry of this exercise. And his last command for you is center. And he has that so frequently in here, so just center. I think about going upright a little bit, bringing my energy right here, just sort of closing out the exercise. Beautiful exercise. Love that one. I'll give myself 4 stars. That's fine. Glowing tones. We've done this many times, but it's another great just sort of awareness, getting yourself going exercise. So these are the pitches that you should be able to hear, and hopefully my mic's going to pick these up. So let's see. I'm hearing them. And by the way, you want to do what I'm doing with the bow. Stop the bow and let your bass glow. You can see that G string, and I at least can see the D string, or I could feel the D string vibrating too. So I'm getting these pitches right there. Let me play it out of tune. You can hear the G string a little bit, but you can hear there's a little in the sound. Let me go flat. That's a sound I've heard from many a student. If you try to play a G, folks, and it sounds like that, dead like that, you're out of tune. Quite possibly flat. There we go. So the next one, we're going to go up and play the A on the E string. And what we have vibrating here is just that open A string. And again, I can play out of tune, and it will vibrate, but the vibration will die faster. There's like a very flat A. There it is. So that's the idea. Try to get this wooden bell ringing. Then we do open A, so we're going to be hearing, and I try not to touch the other string so I can really hear this. That one, if your bass is in tune, should just kind of do its own thing. If it's not, maybe you need to move the bow, get the amplitude of the string a little bit wider. That could be an issue. B flat right here. This one can be a little difficult to hear. Yeah. I can hear at least my laundry over there makes it a little harder to hear. But this one, just be careful not to touch any other strings, and you can hopefully get it. There it is. Like this. That's the note I'm hearing. Whoops. There. That sometimes I have a tendency to touch the G string, which kills that off. That's a very flinty, sort of high harmonic right there. Now we got a C. We're going to hear that. You can hear that really well on that one. That's really a glowing tone. I almost try to see if I can make my bass crescendo on those notes. If I really make this go fat and then stop. It's such a great way to just think about resonance. I mean, that's what bass playing, or music really, but bass playing. That was Jeff Bradisich, one of my early teachers, huge influence on me. I remember walking into a master class at Northwestern with him, and he in his resonant voice, was talking about, what does the bass do better than any other instrument? Resonate. And while many instruments do resonate, and we could make an argument as to whether bass is best, that is certainly one of its strengths, is this long, ringing sound we get. So you're hearing that D. And if you listen closely and really get it moving, you may even hear some other harmonics in there. Open D, again, we don't touch anything. It's kind of like playing on a piano and having the sustain pedal off and just listening to the other strings that ring. And then this one can be challenging to get, and if you touch a G string, it won't happen. You're hearing a really high G on that one. And you just keep going, so on and so forth, up to a high A. I love this one. The more I practice this one, the more I appreciate it. And though I know that I should be doing something like this just to get my brain and my body and everything just sort of like dialed in focus-wise, it's the first time I've ever really intentionally practiced these glowing tones since I've been working on these incredibly useful exercises. So I love it. It's cool. Big wiggle. Okay, I'm gonna put the metronome on for this. And I haven't been using a metronome a lot in these practice sessions, but I do use metronome and or tuner a lot. One of the things I love about Modacity is it remembers both the pitch you were using the last time you practiced this exercise and the metronome marking. So I was doing 60 just like Dennis marked, and so I can turn on 60. The idea is we're going to use a lot of bow. So we're trying to go from frog all the way to tip and vice versa. Dennis's description for the awareness, exercise, and mastery of accurate bow divisions, and for bow control in different regions of the bow to increase your vocabulary of expressive bowing gestures using a rudimentary bow division pattern. And a lot of this is awareness and expanding your tonal palette, these exercises. Sorry, I ate this ghost pepper hot sauce on my chicken salad today, so I got like a runny nose. Anyway, we will survive. Here we go. So, starting here, beginning. So, and I promise I'll play. I won't keep talking through all these, but I screwed up right there, and I stopped just to say that normally I wouldn't stop. I would just keep going and try to iron out things unless it's really going off the rails. So, why did I stop? Who knows? I will not stop this time. I'm going with open strings. You could do closed. Some of these are out of tune. But I'm just gonna keep going because I'm focusing on the bow. All the way to the tip. Apparently I can't talk and play. Okay, so let me just show you, because I haven't shown you on this app, I don't think, in these videos. This is one thing I love about this app. Like, that was a C at best if I was grading myself. So let's try to get better. I'm going to use this button right here called the Improve button. And it says, what thing will you improve now? Notes, consistency, emotion, technique, ease, connecting notes. I added that. Rhythm, tone, phrasing, enjoyment, intonation. I'm going to say technique. What strategy will you try to make this improvement? I'm going to sense the sound-body connection. I'm just going to kind of try to stay in tune with myself. And then it says, okay, do that again and record yourself, bozo. So I'm going to do that again and record myself. This is the way I try to do this a few times every practice session. Okay, now my sense, ooh, you can hear that glowing tone. My sense was that was better, but Modacity is all about recording. So I'll skip my...
I try to do this a few times every practice session.
Okay, so I'm not going to listen to the whole thing right now. It said, did you improve? Yes, no. I said, yes, I did improve. And then I think I accidentally told it to practice that again. So anyway, the cool thing is that my timer remains. So that's like a subroutine within my practice routine. Okay, I chewed up too much time on that. But if we go on, variation A is going to be the same thing. But now it's going to be 16th notes. Instead of just 2, we're going to do 4. So we're going to... Still always trying to get all the way to the frog and all the way to the tip. Variation B is going to be sextuplets. So it'll be like this. And again, trying to stay as distinct in your bow usage as possible. And now we'll get into this in the next one. He says, hopefully, we're going to do big wiggle, big wiggle. So we play a lot of bow. And for this one, real quick before we move on, I find that you probably could practice it using all the bow. I find that if I kind of scooch the bow in, kind of like clipping an audio file or something like that, just clip off both ends of the bow, I find that this exercise is a little more effective from like here to here. So it would be like a... So I'm still traveling, but I'm not going quite as far. And then the other variations, you're moving the forte to different notes, which is super cool. Anyway, more on that later. Moving on. One finger vibrato scale, and before we do that, I am going to get a drink. I don't really need a break per se physically, although I think it's always good to take a break, but that ghost pepper sauce is doing a number on me. Oh, laundry's done. It's gonna go off one more time. Okay, so one finger vibrato scale. And I give myself a ton of time on this one. I am going to use a drone on this time. So no metronome, but I'm going to turn on an E. I can hear that. You can probably hear a little. And what we do is we've done this several times, so go back if you want more of an explanation. I'm going to do A. I'm just going up from A to A. I'm going to do first finger. Then I do it again using second finger. So here is variation A. Vibrating, by the way. That's the point of this. So vibrate all the notes. Nice and relaxed. 45-degree angle vibrato. Move as gracefully as you can back into the lower positions. And what Dennis writes at the ends of all these, which I love, is center. You see that word a lot. Okay, so now we do it again, this time using second finger for every note. So I'm starting there, second finger. And by the way, you'll notice my first finger is down, but not really pressed. Press is a bad word. Someone shouldn't even use that. But it's like on the string, but it's just like a floppy noodle. So really, second finger and thumb are where the oscillation is occurring. So here we go. Everything very relaxed. Now, B, it's the same exact thing, except it's starting on B and you're going to travel up to a high B for the high note. Why? Well, we're going to do third and fourth finger here, and you just wouldn't use third or fourth finger down here. That's just not a use case, unless you're doing the extension, which we're not going to go there right now. So I'm going to practice third finger. And when I do third finger, I generally think of second and third finger as being a unit. I don't really, you could practice it just with third finger, but I kind of keep them together like a unifinger, so. And I try to make sure, one more thing, that my pinky, I see this with students sometimes, I try to make sure my pinky doesn't wrap around and that it doesn't stick out. That it's just chilling out, kind of like nearby the string. If it's this way or this way, that's a sign of tension, I think. See 2 and 3 are down. And now we do fourth finger, and similar to third, I think of 3 and 4 as a unit. These two fingers are just very like noodly, and I don't even really have them down at all. They're just kind of there. I think I was taught to vibrate with all 4 fingers down. I find that uncomfortable, so I don't do it. I just do those 2, and these 2 are just kind of chilling, okay? And I do let my thumb adjust a bit to be closer to 3 and 4, so I don't generally vibrate like that. I vibrate like this. But many ways to do these things. I rarely use fourth finger up here. So this feels pretty weird, but I'm expanding my skills. And again, Dennis always has you center after those, which is great. Now, last one, C sharp goes up to a high C sharp, but we use thumb. And do I enjoy or often vibrate on thumb? No, I do not. Is there a use case for that? Yes, absolutely. Is the skill you should have? Well, it's good to have in your toolkit. Wouldn't be the number one thing I'd bring if I only had a couple tools. That metaphor's getting weird, but yes, practice it. It's good. And if you're starting out with this, maybe no vibrato. And you may notice where I am playing, which is here. You can also play on the joint, on the knuckle, which many find more comfortable, and I have spent my fair share of time right there too. But there's a little more practicality in many circumstances to play right here, but it can be painful to develop. So either way is accepted and is okay. But I'm going to do it the way I do it, which is over here. And I am going to vibrate. And I find if my vibrato sounds horrible with thumb, which it often can, if I just put one near thumb and kind of have a unifinger like that, that can help too. Especially for these low notes. I find them hard to vibrate with the thumb. That's the idea. So That's not necessarily a beginner move, but just practicing. And by the way, if you want to develop that, you can do a horrible exercise I learned many years ago called bloody thumbs. It's not sophisticated. It is this. Just do that for like 10 seconds a day or 3 seconds a day, and your string will get nice and hot, and you'll develop a wicked thumb callus right there. You may notice this muscle getting fatigued, and you may feel some fatigue or some sort of unusual sensations in these two joints right here, these two knuckles. So look out, that takes strength and time to develop those muscles right here. Definitely don't, I'll turn this off, it doesn't drive me insane. Definitely don't push yourself beyond where it feels good. Much better to do that for like literally 3 seconds a day, and then the next day do 4 seconds, the next day do 5 seconds. I went out for a 10-mile run over the weekend. I'd been working at the last video I filmed. I think I was doing maybe 5. So, but by then that was just once, and then I went back to my what has now become like 6 to 8 miles. So with my running or with bass playing or whatever, I'm always trying to just like gradually make gains, and I think that's smart in so many things in life, including bass playing. So next we have Tetrachord Warm-Ups, which I never did before, and I'm getting a lot more comfortable with them. Mark Whitney is the name of the person that Dennis learned them from. Just so you can see these a little more clearly, I'm gonna zoom in and kind of go bar by bar. So they start off with a major tetrachord. Tetrachord, again, is just 4 notes. So first 4 notes of the scale, that's a tetrachord. Seems like a weird term if you don't know it, but that's what it refers to. So we start on E flat. Why? Because it's the lowest note we have, and we go. And you can think of these repeat brackets as infinite, so do it as many times as it takes to feel good. So we go from major tetrachord to a minor tetrachord. We now lower, and so now we're going to do, instead of 1 4 2 4, now we do 1 4 1 4. Then we do a Phrygian, so don't worry about the technical terms on this stuff. I think it's Phrygian, but we go. Oh, by the way, if you ever notice on these videos, if you see me popping my second finger out like that, that's a bad habit. Don't do that. Don't imitate that. What are the notes? I got distracted, sorry. It's something I've been working on. I do it in my bow hand too, and I don't know where I picked that up from. It's probably not the worst habit, but anyway, it's a habit. Okay, now 1 2 2. 1 2 2 4. So now. It's like a harmonic minor-ish kind of thing. And now whole tone. So we go. And then you slide up and you now play major tetrachord again. So you do all these permutations, and then you finally arrive at the next half step up, and you just go up the bass like that. I'll play without talking a little bit so you can see the flow. Whole tone. E major. And by the way, as I'm doing these, I'm trying to see if I can put my 4th finger down using a pronation motion and not just a typing motion. So I'm trying to engage the whole arm, and I'm listening for a little bit of pop on the notes. Might be a good word. That sound? No, I'm not going. I'm not, you can go too far with that. So I'm just trying to make sure that I have a certain snappiness to my left hand without being forceful. That would be a good way to put it. So I'm going to start in E major again. F major, F minor, Phrygian-ish, harmonic-ish whole tone. G flat major. Almost lost it. Whole tone. G major. G minor. I'm trying not to rush. And now by the time we get here, we have the choice to do 4 or 3. I'm going to do 3. I think I just did 4, but I typically do 3. And then we move on to A flat major, right there. And you can do 4 or you can do 3, your preference. And so on and so forth. And I think part of that depends on your bass shape and how you were raised or taught. 4 can be nice sometimes because, especially if you have 4 earlier, because I think your brain sort of understands having multiples of the same finger. But typically I do 3. I don't know, it just seems a little bit more comfortable for me. Okay, I worked up a little burn in the left arm there. Don't know why. Talking and playing. Gonna get another drink of water. I think I might have I don't know if I have any more exercises. Sorry if there was an unnecessary drink. We'll see. So time's up. Tetrachord done. Good. That was not that great. I'm gonna ding myself. Oh, good. I have a couple more 3-note progressives. So I'm gonna put a drone on here. And we're going up with this pattern. Feel free to repeat each bar as many times as necessary. This is great for reinforcing good shifting techniques. So I go up with the first finger, back with the fourth. So the pattern is irregular, which makes sense since you're trying to fit 3 notes into a hand shape that can only do 2 notes. That was not very clear. Is the pattern. So every beginning of every new bar, we use the old finger. That sounded clear in my head. Anyway, I don't know. So it goes like this. Then we play 4, go to the new position. There's another one of those, 4 or 3. I typically do 3, so that would be Oftentimes I vibrate on that last note just to sort of give myself a chance to relax. And again, Dennis has the wonderful center. So you play 2 A's. So I would go, and then, and then we also can do it up the second octave. We can combine both octaves. We can do variations on that. Like we can do rhythms on that. We could go, or the same thing slurred. We could vibrate, which I was just instinctively doing there. We can move it over the D string. We could practice dynamics. We could pizzicato. We could go through and really think about clarity of, because pizzicato tells us a lot. It reveals a lot. Many variations you can do. You can obviously get out of the world of A major. We could go up a half step to B flat. And people see exercises like this in the way Dennis notated them, and a common question is, do you just practice A major? And the answer is no. I do all sorts of things. And what I do, which I am not doing in these videos, because I'm just trying to go through these books one per week. But what I typically do is I give myself a key for the week, and I practice everything technique related in that key. So if I was in C major right now, I would be doing this in C major. And that exercise exists in multiple spots in the bass. We could also start right here. And there are certain challenges to the thicker strings that the thinner strings don't necessarily present, but you always want to be varying these as much as possible. Do take time to center. Do think about being clean in your left hand usage. And one thing that I get some questions on is what to do with the thumb up here. So if you're like, my default thumb position is to be a whole step away from my first finger. That was not always what I would do with the thumb. I think I even had a period of time when I did something weird like thumb here or under here. I would advise against this because that's in my it causes nothing but tension. And then I've also seen people kind of just approach this as like a big ball of fingers wherever you go. I really like the structure that this provides, thinking about this as being a whole step and thinking about these as being half steps. And then anything else I do is a deviation from this, which is called the semi-chromatic position in Petrachord fingering, and I think Dennis has an exercise about that in here. So if I was here, I'd be going, you can see my fingers are all on specific notes. That's an E, that's an F sharp, G sharp, and second finger's on G. So I love the concept of always having a finger on a specific note, so that you could lift up other things and you would know exactly where you're at, because we want this to be as little of a mystery zone as possible. And I found that to be a good approach for that. Ribbits. These are great. So I'm going to practice with the metronome too. So the idea with these is we are throwing from the right elbow. We are keeping the bow on the string at all times. So we are going to set here. And we're going to do. That was a very bad demonstration. Sorry. I think we're going to loosen my bow a little bit. I'm trying to do like throwing a frisbee from the right elbow. I'm trying to do this motion, and I'm trying to let this be passive. Okay, so these can lock up on you if you're not careful. Like they're kind of locking up on me right now. I'm trying to feel it coming from here. There we go. Oh, got it. Okay, that was just a little bit of warming up there to get into it. Okay, so I'm going to put the metronome on. See, modacity preserved. Yesterday's tempo of 124, which is what Dennis has right here. And God, I can't do anything today. Okay, so we're just going to go through it. I'm going to play open strings. You can do whatever. So we'll be like bottom, 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 and checking the bowing, making sure we're getting all these different directions as we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want the up bows to sound as even as the down bows. There we go. Trying to be hard on myself. Feel my whole body engage the string. Yeah, a good image for me is like it's like my whole body's just kind of like hanging on this string. I've just got this string right here, bottom, bottom, and I'm using my entire body to let it go. Sometimes if I think bigger muscles, I start to relax a little bit into that one. So now we do the second half, which is the same thing only without the thinking pause. So it's gonna be like bottom, 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 bottom. Think about my entire body. Kind of check in like that centering exercise with my hips, my feet, and here we go. And by the way, you can hear those glowing tones really well. So this is starting in measure 16. 1, 2, 3, and... Center as you do that. And variations, there are plenty. practice it faster, we can practice it slower, we can do other scales, like we could do it in G major. We do starting all down bow, we can start all up bow. But the idea is you want it to sound like ribbit, 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 ribbit. You don't want it to be ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. You want to make sure that down bows and up bows sound the same. It's one of those common issues in people's playing, mine included. So this is a great one for doing. And again, I have in this app, this recording button is just staring me in the face. So I frequently turn the metronome on, get a recording. 1, 2, beginning, and. Okay, and I'll just stop there and listen back to that.
Get a recording. 1, 2, beginning,
Okay, so I'm rushing, and what else am I doing that needs work? Let's go back one more time.
Get a recording. 1, 2, beginning,
I'm just not consistent. So what I would do is then I would do that mindful practice. I would practice some consistency, record myself a couple times. I typically don't save these recordings. I just kind of ditch them. But I do, one thing I love about this app, or just something I try to think about practicing in general, is I'm trying as much as possible to separate the execution, the performance, from the analysis. I think part of what holds us back and clamps us up and freaks us out as performers is that we're analyzing as we're going. If you've ever given a public speech and all of a sudden you think about how crappy it's going in the middle, that generally does not help. What would help better is to just be in the moment, but record yourself and listen back the next day or whatever, and be in a more analytical frame of mind, take some notes, and then work on that for the next time. Totally true for practicing too, and that's one thing I love. This is not an ad from Audacity, although they do have a deal. If you want a lifetime membership, there's a link that I will link to in the description below. Mark's a friend, the creator of that app. Oh, silence. Something I should do more of in my life. All right. I have no idea how long that was. Probably 45 minutes, something like that. Oh, let's see. Yeah. Little under an hour, because that one's a little shorter. Thanks for sticking with me. If you stuck with me through here and through those 30 seconds of silence, I appreciate it. More to come. That was volume 4. There are 16 volumes, and I'll try to keep varying what I'm talking about in these. If you enjoy these videos and you haven't checked out the earlier ones, they're on YouTube. And what else do you want me to do like this? Do you like these? People seem to be liking these, so I'll keep doing them. I've loosened the headband so I don't get a headache anymore. My laundry's done, so I got to get that out. So we will see you again soon.